El Capitan is known by many as a sheer granite wall in Yosemite Valley. But El Capitan is also the name of a lake in San Diego County. We visited Lake El Capitan for some late season bass fishing that was sheer pleasure.
Oh, it's a nice one.
He attacked it hard. And in the Galley, we'll show you a delicious grilled salmon recipe that's easy to make at home. We've got a great show lined up for you, so stay tuned for this week's episode of Sport Fishing.
Sport Fishing with Dan Hernandez is brought to you by Sport Chalet and by Berkeley Trilene, super strong fishing line.
Hi, I'm Dan Hernandez. I'd like to welcome you to a very special episode of Sport Fishing. Today we're going to go largemouth bass fishing here at El Capitan Reservoir in San Diego County. And our guide today will be George Kramer. Hey George, how you doing?
How are you doing, Dan?
Real good. I've known George for a long time. You're probably familiar with him. He writes regularly for Western Outdoor News every week. He's also been seen in other publications. And me and George go back to when I was a field reporter for Western Outdoor News, which was many years ago.
Hey, but we don't look it, do we?
So what are we going to be doing today, George?
Well, we hope that the topwater fish will cooperate for us, because that always makes it interesting. And of course, if they don't, we'll go deep and look for them down 15 to 30 feet.
So we're either going to be fishing the plugs on the surface or the worms down deep.
That's it.
Okay, well, why don't we get out on the water and go get us some fish?
All right, sounds good.
El Capitan Lake is located in the eastern portion of San Diego County and is the only reservoir on the San Diego River. It was created with the completion of the dam in 1934. It's the largest of 9 reservoirs owned and operated by the City of San Diego Water Utilities District. El Capitan operates year-round on a varying schedule according to the season and offers everything from boat rentals to complete tackle, bait, and food concessions. Well known for its bass, it's also a great place to bring the family for crappie, bluegill, and catfish.
The bait's been coming up here in this zone here to our left, so I didn't want to come right in on top of them. And hopefully they'll show for us a little bit here while we're in this area.
What are they feeding on the surface?
Threadfin shad. They're schooled up right now, and it's really the last big splash for the whole environment here. All species that are warm water species are gearing up for winter, which may come, El Nino or not.
We're right in the middle, I would say, of the lake.
This is the place.
We're seeing all these boils, birds working. Maybe you can explain what exactly is going on.
Well, what's happening is it's the end of the year. The summer is waning. The water temperature in this big part of the lake is still warmer than it is in the backs of the arms. And the threadfin shad are making their last bit of foraging. The algae in the water is growing. The water's clear here, where it is not so clear in the backwaters. And this concentrates the bait fish, and the bass, they know its fall is on the way too, Dan, and so they're going to make their last shot at a meal. We don't always catch really big fish out here chasing, but usually there's a lot of activity. And you watch for the birds, and they're really the key.
Can you explain a little bit about these birds and all the shad that we're seeing and all that,
Sure.
what's happening?
Bass is an opportunist. He's not really built for speed like a tuna.
Right.
He's not going to be endless chasing. However, he's in good shape this time of year, and he knows there's a change in conditions, and so he's going to start to try to corner the threadfin shad, which is a small bait fish, and there's millions of them. Now, they're typically like to get their fish on an edge. Now, where is an edge, you say? Obviously, the shoreline's an edge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where's the edge out here in the middle of the lake? It's the surface. They know they can't take an elevator and go up to the 18th floor. Once the bass catch them up here to the top, he's got them cornered.
So they'll just kind of corral them all together, a couple of bass together?
They'll work them in a pod and use the surface as their ally, just like in a basketball or football, we use the sidelines as their ally.
Well, George has us in a hot spot here. We got fish working all around us. I know we're going to get some. Well, let's visit the tackle box and take a good look at the rods and reels you'll need for this type of fishing.
The Tackle Box. Tips and information to help every angler improve their chances on the water. This week, the Tackle Box is brought to you by the San Diego Sport Fishing Council.
In today's show, we hope to show you a couple of different ways to take largemouth bass. Now, these techniques and these styles of lures and stuff that we're using at the San Diego Lake, El Capitan, you can use in any Southern California lake. Now, we're going to start out by looking for surface fish. And the way we're going to fish those fish is with the Rebel Pop R. This is the lure here. And what we're going to do is throw the lure like this on the breaking fish while they're chasing the shad. Remember, those bass really have the shad pinned. Even though we're out in the middle, there's no more farther up those fish can go. They're on the surface. And that's why we see them break the water, is they're trying to get away from the bass that are feeding on them. We throw this right in the middle of that, we pop it, and then we just let the bass come up and attack it. Now, one of the things we'll do while we'll cast it out there is sometimes just cast it to the fish, make 1 or 2 pops, and then just leave the lure stationary there. Just let it sit there for a second or two, and I've seen fish come up and bite it before just like that. Now, the outfit that I'm using for this is a light action Legacy Fenwick rod. It's a spinning rod, and then we have a Daiwa 1300 reel. Now, if you're more comfortable using a bait caster type outfit, it works fine. But the fish today were a distance from us, so I was going with a spinning outfit like this. And this is the lure again that you should use. Now, one last tip on the surface fish. Because these fish are either breaking the surface or just below the surface, it helps if you have a quality pair of sunglasses. These are Hobie, they're polarized, and because they're polarized, we're able to see through the glare and spot fish that are just below or just barely at the surface level. And we can use these glasses to help us get another fish or two. Well, let's get back on the water and join George and see if we can get us some largemouth bass.
Oop, he's going to jump again.
Ooh, that's a nice bass. I like that knee bent action thing.
That's watching those fishing shows. Well, let's see if we can't get this little fella aboard. Well, let's try it this way instead.
Now, is that a typical size bass?
There's no bad bass.
No.
Yeah, this is a typical size. Many lakes now, as we mentioned previously, at El Capitan, the limit's 15 inches. It's one of the real important conservation moves that's been put on down here in the city of San Diego. And
That
it's
fish should go over 15.
Well, he's close, but you can see how well built he is.
Mhm.
He's been eating shad. Look at that belly. See, he kind of looks like me after lunch.
And this Popeye looks like it's caught some fish before. It's kind
Yeah,
of beat
I kind of wondered if I was going to get a bite or not. That's one of my favorites.
Well, let's let him go.
Anyway, send him back. Really appreciate him being with us today.
There you go. All right, George, that was good.
I feel a
Break
little
the
better
ice.
now.
You're smiling at
Look
least.
at that. They're breaking right there behind the
All right,
boat.
I'm next.
Okay, let's get one, Dan.
Get back to this. Well, stay tuned and we'll be right back with more action from El Capitan. We've got fish jumping all around us. And I'm going to switch to a little bit lighter outfit. I was throwing 12-pound test. Now I'm going to try 10. And I've gone to a spinning reel. And this is a Rebel Pop-R. And we got the fish just working all around us here. We're really not even chasing them. They're just kind of coming to us, and George has us looking for birds and stuff. And I'll try this. Let's see what we can do. Adjust my drag here a little bit. There we go. Boom. Just working right on the surface. Man, I couldn't have thrown that any better.
You were right on them. You're right on them. Kind of reminds you of those bluefin tuna. I think they check the brand of hook before they come up and bite.
Yeah, they're checking who's throwing it. They're going, Hernandez, he's not known for bass. I'll go by Kramer's lure. It's more respectable.
He's on.
All right, I got one, George.
Yeah, here he comes. Ew, nice fish. Keep that rod low when they jump, otherwise they might shake you.
Okay.
Ooh, I'm on.
Oh, we got a double going. Well, you're not going to wait for me to get this one in first?
Well, I'd like to be polite and everything, but it's not in me. Hey, that's a nice fish. That's a real nice fish. He's staying with me. Okay, just grab the head of that bait, you'll be safer.
The bait?
The plug, yeah, grab the plug.
Okay. No, you're right. Boy, look at this fish.
He got him.
This is a largemouth that eats like I do. It started about this far away and sucked up everything in between.
Okay.
Got both hooks in there. Well, this is my first largemouth on a Pop-R.
Hey, it's a great bait.
It didn't take very long into the day to do it, I tell you.
Yeah, now you can stay out of my tackle box. Oh, I gotta fight this puppy the rest of the way up here.
Yeah, we got a double going. Let me release my fish real quick.
Okay, there you go.
You ready?
Oh,
he's ready. Well, there's yours.
yeah, shaking his head a little bit down there. Must have just picked it up by that tail hook there.
Yeah. There you go.
See, you beat me by ½ a pound. But you can see they're getting a little fussier. That's usually a sign of that. You start hooking them on that tail hook. But of course, that's why they got 2 hooks on them. Hey, a lot of places, that'd be a real prize. Way to go, Mr. El Capitan Bass.
All right, George. Thanks a lot. That was great. Got 2 there.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Getting a double.
Yeah.
Well, we're still out here in the middle of the lake. It's been a real good bite here in the morning. We got lucky. We had 2 doubles on at one time. That's hard to believe. I mean, come out here, and we got out a little late. We actually didn't start fishing until 8 o'clock, and it's just coming up on about 10. And I think George and I both had at least 3-4 fish each. And like I said, twice we had doubles on. This fishing's fantastic. George, we haven't fished together for what, about 8 years?
Yeah, probably 5-6 years.
At
Had
least.
that wild trip down there in San Diego.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
got a chance to fish with one of your boys.
Yeah, my son always wanted to fish the ocean now. He just doesn't think this bass fishing's nearly as much fun as getting chased around the rail twice on an 85-footer. And he also liked the burgers.
Yeah, he had some serious burgers. Last time me and George fished together, we were on the American Angler on a Barracuda trip, fishing Coronado Islands. And today he's been nice enough to come out with us, introduce us to largemouth bass fishing here at San Diego Lakes and at Lake El Capitan. See, around us we got guys fishing with just rental boats, and they're catching fish too. It's just proof that you don't have to have that high expensive, high end, you know, real fancy bass boat to catch fish. You can come out here when the fish are biting like this on the surface, just you know, grab one of the kids or some friends and rent one of those boats and find the fish breaking on the surface like this. We're still using these Pop-Rs, and the key is George is just positioning the boat around the birds that are circling, that are chasing the bait fish, and then we're just throwing these Pop-Rs right on top of the breaking bait fish and the game fish, and the bass are there. We'll return in a moment with the Galley and a simple and delicious way to prepare your fish at home.
The Galley, recipes and tips for preparing your fish at home. This week, the Galley is brought to you by Acme Lures.
Our Galley segment this week comes to us from 22nd Street Grill and Bar, located just above 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro. Standing next to me is Ed Connolly, and he's the manager here at 22nd Street Landing Grill and Bar Restaurant. And it's located right on top of Skipper's 22nd Street Landing here in beautiful San Pedro. And if you've never been here, it's got a beautiful view of the harbor and everything, looking at all the sport boats. And today you're going to be preparing for us a special dish.
Today I'm going to grill a piece of king salmon on our apple and citrus grill.
And I know you haven't been here that long, but it seems like it was just yesterday you opened.
We've been here a little over 2 years, and we're quickly becoming the place in Southern California for fresh seafood.
Now, what kind of specialties do you have here?
Our specialty is fresh fish. Any given day you can get 10 to 20 fresh fish, an assortment of sauteed pastas, meat, seafood, anything you can imagine.
And I've been on the boats coming back on Sunday afternoons, and I've seen large crowds out here, and you have outdoor dining and the full restaurant in here. Let's get over to the grill. I want to see that salmon.
What we're going to do here is we're going to grill a piece of fresh king salmon. While this is the simplest way I can think of to prepare fresh fish, it's also what I think is the best way to prepare fresh fish. There's a couple things you want to remember, and it's probably the things people do that give them the most trouble with grilling fish. I'm going to do this on an indoor wood-burning grill. You can do it outside on your barbecue, or if you have a grill in the house. The thing you want to remember is always let your coals get hot. And another trick that you want to use, that we use at the restaurant, is baste your grill with oil. What I use is a little soy oil, and that way your fish won't stick. Okay, when your grill gets nice and hot, you just want to put your fish right on there. All right, when you see on the side of the fish that it's starting to cook up from the bottom, then it's time to make one of the moves that we make as we cook the fish. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn it at opposite angle of which it was initially put on. That'll give it the nice cross marks. You see here on the top, because we crisscrossed when we flipped it, we've got nice crisscross marking. Not essential to the final product, but it does add in the presentation. Here at the restaurant, we like to think our food looks as good as it tastes. To grill a piece of fish like this, you can plan on it taking anywhere from 6 to 10 minutes, depending on how hot your grill is, depending on how thick your fish is. This fish looks done now. The last thing we're going to do, and the only thing we add to our fresh fish here at 22nd Street Landing, is we brush with a little bit of paprika butter. Adds a little moisture to the surface. That looks done. Here's your king salmon.
Thank you, Ed. I'll try a little piece of it. Boy, you're a great cook.
Well, thank you.
And for those of you who've never been to 22nd Street Landing here in San Pedro, remember the bar and grill is located right on top of the sport fishing landing. It's a great place to come either have a drink after a fishing trip or come grab a nice meal. Well, thank you, Ed. I'm going to finish this before I get back on the water. The surface fishing using these plugs and the pop bars that we're using today is a pretty basic type of action, and it's easy to do. But to better explain how to fish this type of lure, we're going to have George demonstrate for us. Why don't you show our viewers how to work that, George?
Okay. Well, the pop bar is a floating bait, and so it has a cup mouth, and so you need to do something to get that forward action. And so usually what we do is twitch the rod tip with the low position, give it a couple twitches, and then as you bring the rod back, reel up the slack. So you pop, 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 pause, pop, pause. It varies because it sometimes takes a different kind of action of the bait to garner a response.
And does it depend on how hard the fish are feeding, on how quick you make it pop or how quick you make the lure go across the surface?
Sometimes it's how fast my heart is beating as the fish are boiling. So that's a big effect on how fast I move my lure. As a rule of thumb, a medium retrieve. But sometimes they're just telling you that they need a little bit less coaxing. Other times, maybe there's a ripple on the water and they can't find that pop bar in the glaze of the surface. So that's when you really give it some real action and really keep it coming.
Well, we have a pretty much a smooth surface today, so a couple of pops at a pause, a couple of pops at a pause, or, of course, if you can throw it right on top of the boil, and that's when they usually turn in, and then we look like real fishermen.
Well, that's when we got those doubles, when we threw them right on top of those fish breaking.
Hey, that's what it's all about when you fish in topwater.
Be sure to join us next week as we travel to the East Cape region of Baja, Mexico.
Beautiful, Daddy. Beautiful.
For some hot blue marlin fishing. We'll be right back with the tip of the week.
Fish Tales is brought to you by Checkpoint Hook and Knife Sharpeners.
This week's Fish Tales comes to us from the Barnes family of Huntington Beach. Molly and Hannah, 7 and 5 years old, were on their first fishing trip, a visit to the high Sierras where they caught this fine stringer of rainbow trout. It's great to see children enjoying themselves fishing. For being our fish tale this week, the Barnes family will receive a free copy of my book, Saltwater Fishing Adventures. Remember, every fish tale used on the air receives a free book. Send your fish tales, photos or videos, and any questions or comments to Sport Fishing, P.O. Box 90, Montebello, California, 90640. Hey, George, thanks a lot for bringing us out. We had a great time.
Really enjoyed it, Dan. Thanks a lot.
And for those of you who've never been down here, San Diego, highly recommend you try a trip like this. El Capitan's only a 2-hour drive, hour and 45-minute drive from downtown LA. Well, I'm Dan Hernandez, hoping you enjoyed this week's episode of Sport Fishing, and I hope you join us next week when we go looking for more of the best in sport fishing.
If you would like to purchase a copy of today's episode of Sport Fishing, send $15 plus $2 shipping and handling along with today's date to Sport Fishing, P.O. Box 90, Montebello, California, 90640.